When we let go of thinking, I know better, I've got the answers, this shouldn't happen the way it's happening, I should rehearse everything before it happens so that I can control the situation. When we can let go of all of that and really humble ourselves to the truth that is, we can't control shit. Today's episode is all about desires and the art of surrender. How to fully listen to your desires, follow through with them, build a life that is in alignment with them, and how to practice deeper surrender to bring more pleasure, more magic, more aliveness, more alignment into your life. We go deep, and I share with you many different tools and practices that you can start using to open yourself to surrender and following through with your desires. Let's dive in. The art of surrender. I recently asked you to give me some topics that you would like me to talk about in the podcast, some questions, any requests that you had. And one that particularly stood out to me that I wrote down and I'm going to dive into with you is one around surrender and really letting go of the life that we've had so that we can create a life that is more aligned. And I actually want to read you the question specifically. The question was, how to let go with grace when you realize you created a life from safety and have to disconnect from the life you built to recreate from desire. This is a juicy one. So I really want to talk to you about all things surrender and really just answer this question and have a look at different distinctions and points around how we may create a life that is more aligned with our desires than it is with our sense of survival or safety seeking. Now, the first thing I would say is, number one, let go of your attachment to it being graceful. Surrender and control don't work well together. Secondly, I would encourage you to get curious around whether you really need to disconnect from the life that you've built so that you can recreate one that's more aligned with your desires, or whether instead you can allow the natural flow of transition that is already showing up in your space to redirect you. Because you can do this, like do it yourself from an energy of force where you need to disconnect and cut things off and rebuild from scratch. And there's just a lot of effort. You, the woman, need to make a lot of effort in order to create this change from this energy. And you can also instead choose to allow this, where there's nothing you need to do or strategize or force or effort, but rather you can remain present to your desires, like you're saying, and allow them to guide you in whatever direction feels most aligned for you to move. And trust that everything that isn't meant to be in your life anymore will naturally find its way out. Because the journey can look exactly the same and get you to the exact same place. However, one is directed by your desire to control and take action, which is not desire, it's fear. And the other one is guided by your surrender and your availability to life's direction. In one scenario, you are coming from a space of not trusting life, thinking it's all up to you and wanting to control. So you go into protection. Let's cut things off, disconnect from the life I've built and rebuild from scratch. In the other scenario, there's a trust that you are being taken care of, that life knows what it's doing. And that if you're feeling this desire, this call to have a different reality, to live a life that's more in alignment with your new desires, because the life that you've created from safety was built by your previous desires, your desire to feel safe, right? So now it's a matter of, can you create more space, more availability, more safety in your body? And from that, trust that as a byproduct of your context being deeper safety, of your context being deeper trust, of your context being deeper availability. The reality that you will create, the life that you will build moving forward will be aligned with your current desires. When we really trust that I get to have what I want, I get to experience what I desire, otherwise I wouldn't be desiring it. In what universe do I need to die desiring things I can never get? It's just we believe those things. But personally, I don't buy into that. If you desire it, it desires you. If you desire it, it's available to you. It's calling you from somewhere going this way, this way, this way. Come and find me. Come and follow me. Come and feel me. Come and experience me. It is there. Your desire desires you. So when you trust that, you can receive and allow, surrender versus control, strategize, plan. How do I cut things off my life? How do I disconnect from this? How do I let go of this so that I can and push these people away and burn this to the ground so that I can rebuild again? Now in more alignment. It gets to be easier. It can be easier. The first scenario has a context of I have to fight for what I desire. I have to disconnect, cut off, rebuild. There's a fight energy. There's an effort energy. And not effort in the sense, of course, everything takes effort and intention and commitment and all that. There's an energy of having to try hard or fight hard for our desires. In the other, there's a knowing that you're desiring it. So why wouldn't you have it? You're desiring it. So why wouldn't it happen? So from that space, you know, if anything or anyone isn't meant to be in your life because it was there out of you wanting to seek survival or safety more than seek pleasure and enjoyment, let's say, you trust that anything that is not in alignment just will fade away because you will be so focused and so on your path to your desires, to your yeses, that the rest will simply not have space to be with you, to be around you, to be in your field. So this is my invitation to you to start, to create more ease and really start asking yourself, what if it could be easier? What if your desires are just as excited about you experiencing them than you are excited about you experiencing them? Them experiencing you, you experiencing them. Sometimes when we think about surrender, we think of this majestic, big, amazing, unachievable thing that we should strive for, and it's so big. And really, to me, surrender is nothing more than just meeting life in the present moment fully. It's choosing to end the rehearsal and the battle. Choosing to let go of this idea that we need to rehearse life, prepare for life before life arrives. And this idea that we need to fight life. That something is happening, but it shouldn't happen this way, and it shouldn't be this way. And I know that this person should actually be my husband, and I know that this friend should actually not have said that or felt that, or I know that I should be making this much money instead. And life is happening. How do we receive it? That is surrender. When we let go of thinking, I know better, I've got the answers, this shouldn't happen the way it's happening, I should rehearse everything before it happens so that I can control the situation. When we can let go of all of that and really humble ourselves to the truth, that is, we can't control shit. That is the truth. It's a hard one. It's a challenging one to fully accept, but it's the truth. We can't control any of it. We lie to ourselves, or we fool ourselves into thinking we can control something, but we can't. We can't control how other people feel. We can't control how other people conduct themselves or behave. We can't control the weather. We can't control, well, some people and conspiracy theorists would say that there's perhaps ways to do that. But there is no such thing as control. There is no such thing as knowing. So when we can really take this on and embrace it, then we can surrender. We can meet life fully in the present moment, authentically, here and now. This is happening, cool. How do I be with this now? This is crumbling. Okay, how do I be with this now? This person is projecting or experiencing this in relationship to me, or it's behaving in a way that is impacting me. Okay, how do I be with this now? This thing that I was excited about is no longer happening, or I'm faced with this massive challenge. Okay, how do I be with this now? That is truly what surrender is about. It's not rehearsing, it's not fighting anymore. It's knowing humbly that life is happening. We're not actually controlling it. So how do we meet it is the question. And for so long, I would say the absolute majority, I would say all of us, but let's just say the absolute majority of us have run with the question, how do I control this? How do I turn this into what I want it to be? How do I convince people of what I want them to think about me? How do I strategize my way through life so that it's the way I want it to be? And truth is, none of us can do that. We can't escape death. We can't force love. Even if it's true that we can control the weather, even if it's true that we can manipulate people into thinking and believing certain things about ourselves or doing the things that we want them to do, we can't force love, true love. And we can't fight death. So knowing that, we get to know that the rest, it applies for the rest of our lives in the same way. And that is surrender. It's not this big practice or this big thing. Of course, there are practices that help us to build safety in the body, to feel safer to be here and now, to feel safer to embrace reality as is, to know that we have our backs and that we can be with ourselves powerfully and with grace and with dignity no matter what's happening. But that's all. We can learn to be with ourselves more powerfully. We can learn to trust ourselves more, but we can't control reality. So surrender is just that. It's just trusting and knowing, accepting, acknowledging that we can't control reality. And so again, the question, instead of how can I control this, gets to be, how do I be with this? How can I be with this? More powerfully, with more grace, with more presence, with more dignity. This is here. I can't wish it away. What's the point of wishing it away? This whole idea that something is happening, but it shouldn't be happening. It's like literally every bee goes to the exact flower they need to go to pollinate in the exact way they need to pollinate, and every cloud moves at the exact speed that it needs to move, and every animal births exactly when they need to birth, exactly the same amount of animals that they need to birth, and every person dies exactly when they need to die, and every child is born exactly when they need to be born. But somehow this breakup wasn't meant to happen, or somehow this deal falling through wasn't meant to happen. How is that possible? If everything is orchestrated divinely, if everything is happening without us controlling any of it, how is it possible that the things that happen in our lives are a mistake? So when we know this, we know that life is happening for us and not to us. And we know this. When I say we know this, I mean we know this in our bodies, embodied. We know this. Not just know this as a concept that, oh yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, life is happening for me. No, actually, we know it. So this is what surrender is about. And I find it's really helpful to understand that when we go through trauma, and trauma is not just BT trauma. It's not just huge, super awful experiences, is anything that was too much, too fast, or too soon for the nervous system. When we go through trauma and start having experiences that imprint themselves in our bodies as information that says it is not safe to be here and now. Maybe we experience verbal, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Maybe we were ridiculed or bullied. Maybe we saw things we wish we didn't. Maybe we felt really isolated and neglected or invalidated growing up. In any way, the information that gets stored within us is one that says it's not safe to be here and now. So when we have that story that says it's not safe to be here and now, it's easier to go outside of ourselves. It's easier to leave our bodies and go through life doing it that way. So leaving our bodies is not just, having a super deep, altered state of consciousness like experience, or disassociating or fully numbing ourselves. Leaving our bodies also looks like control. Because we're not fully here and now, but rather we're over there and over there. Seeing, how can I control this before it happens? How can I predict what's going to happen so that I can feel safe around it? How can I make sure that I create a really perfect story that then I can give to people so that they believe this about me? How can I fabricate a really well-curated version of myself that I am then going to hand over to people so that they can see, think and believe this about me so that I can feel safe? How can I predict my partner's needs so that I can meet them before they even know that they need those things, or even ask for them so that I feel valuable? How can I? This control, this rehearsal of life, this trying to get ahead of reality, being in reality, and a reality that hasn't yet happened, is also being outside of our bodies. And this is why the somatic work, the embodiment work, is so important. Because until we feel safe to be fully in our bodies, to be fully here and now, we won't. And we will experience reality outside of reality. We will experience the future every time without experiencing the present here and now. We will project the past into the present and project ourselves into the future to try and feel safer. Never being here and now. So when we want to really create a life that has more ease, that has more space, when we want to practice surrender, when we want to build a life that is in alignment with our desires, when we want to open ourselves up to the magic that's available, to everything that we don't know, we must be here and now. And how we do this is by building safety within, by getting to a space where we feel safe enough to be with ourselves, no matter what, to know that whatever life throws at us or brings to us, we'll be able to deal with it. We'll be able to be with it powerfully, gracefully, or not gracefully. Doesn't even matter if it's graceful, just powerfully. That we will be able to be with ourselves through it. So when we are wanting to open space for this, if this is a conversation that you're in, if you're wanting to release your control tendencies a little bit, and here, like, controller, like absolute controller in recovery myself. So no shame in your game. Been there, done that. I totally get the desire to control. It is incredibly common for us humans. But now, if you're really getting to a point in your life when you know that you get to loosen a little bit, that you want to have more fun, you want to have more pleasure, you want to have more intimacy, you want to have more magic, you want to have more spaciousness in your life, if you want to feel more relaxed, if you want to build a life that feels really juicy and connected, and you know that your desires are calling you, that there is more for you to experience, then really let this land. With every time that I find myself trying to rehearse and trying to control life and going into like, what's going to happen? And what would I do if that happens? And what would I do if this other thing happens? And how would I respond to this? And how I slow down, pause, take a moment, breathe. And I tell myself, we'll soon find out. What's going to happen with this? And what's going to happen with like the organization? And what's going to happen with my partner? And we'll soon find out. The truth is, it can't happen that everybody in the world finds out by you. If you're not meant to be with your partner, trust me, you will know. If you're meant to be with someone, you will know. If you are meant to create something new, to hire a new coach, to travel to a different country, you will know. In what reality everybody finds out but you? You will soon find out. No need to rehearse. You will know. But how you can make sure that you actually know is by learning to listen. It's by learning to tune into your body, to be more present, to be more centered, to be more grounded. Because the more you work on regulating your nervous system, of creating safety in your body and welcoming more of you to the here and now, bringing more presence into your life, the more obvious these signs will be. The louder this little voice that goes this way, that way. The voice of your desires, in this case, how we started this conversation, they whisper to you all of the time. So the deeper you drop into yourself, the safer you feel to be present and trust what you hear, the louder and more clear those messages, those whispers will be. When your desires go, do this, read that, meet this person, go to that place, fuck this all up. You will be able to listen, you will be able to trust. But first and foremost, everything starts within. So you get to cultivate this trust, this presence, this deep listening within yourself. So when those whispers appear, you know what they are. And you know you can follow through with them. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that it landed for you in a valuable way. If you want more of this content, be sure to subscribe so you get notified when new episodes are released. And since you're already here, if you want to leave us a rating and a review, that would be so deeply appreciated. You can also find me on Instagram at Sigrid Tasies for more free, transformational, and inspirational content. And if you want to receive updates on all of the different things, offers, events, free resources that we have for you, then come and join my inner circle. Go to sigridtasies.com/inner circle and subscribe over there. I will leave all of the links in the show notes for you, and I will connect with you on the next episode. Lots of love.